Hey guys, the topic of today's video is the differences between eating utensils in different countries, namely Western countries compared to East Asian countries. First off, in Western countries, many Western countries use a knife and a fork. The fork is held in the left hand for stability, and the knife is held in the right hand to cut the food. This can often be seen while eating stuff like steak or other types of food that is very large and must be cut into smaller pieces. You can also see in some other situations when somebody is trying to eat soup or eating some kind of roasted vegetables, they would probably only use a fork or only use a spoon instead of a knife. In comparison, many Asian countries, specifically East Asian countries, use chopsticks to eat their food. Chopsticks are two pieces of wood or metal that people use to eat their food. Specifically, I'm going to compare the differences between Chinese, Japanese, and Korean chopsticks because they have some small similarities and differences. First, Chinese-style chopsticks are often square or circular. What I mean by this is that the top of it is square and the bottom of it, where you eat, is circular. However, something that is very interesting about this is that the diameter of or the size of the chopstick does not change as you go up and down. This square circle formation where the top is square and the bottom is circle can also be used as an expression of beauty. In comparison, in Japan, many chopsticks are like this. Although it might be hard to see the difference initially, it is actually quite different. The top is starting from a square or a circular shape. Then, as you go to the bottom, where you pick up and eat food, the shape of the chopstick becomes very, very narrow, almost like the prongs of a fork. Now, the purpose of this is usually to pick up small or fine things, like bones. You usually have to pick up these bones in a fish or some other types of food, like crab. Compared to Chinese chopsticks, these types of chopsticks are sometimes better at picking up food and sometimes not so much, depending on the situation that you are in. Now, in Korea, Korean-style chopsticks are quite different compared to Japan and China, at least on the outside. You can see that these chopsticks are made out of metal. This conducts heat very well, so especially when you're eating hot or cold foods, you can often feel it, especially if you're eating some kind of barbecue. The warmth of the food is usually going to travel up to the top of the chopstick. It's not that bad though, so usually you can be safe assured that you won't burn yourself while eating hot foods. However, compared to other countries, these chopsticks are very much thinner. When you look at the side profile of these chopsticks, they are much flatter and thinner compared to China and Japan. Now, I'm not completely sure as to why this is, but it definitely makes for a much easier eating experience because when you put the chopsticks down on the table, they won't slide down or roll down to the floor. In terms of how heavy they are or their weight, Korean-style chopsticks, since they are made of metal, are usually and often much heavier than Japanese or Chinese-style chopsticks. Now, this can be a little bit of a hindrance when you start using them, especially if you're used to other types of chopsticks. However, when you get used to them, it can actually be really helpful when you're eating, because it allows you to be much more precise when picking up foods. And this makes the eating process overall much better. So overall, that was a lesson on different types of eating utensils, especially focusing on those of East Asian countries. I hope comparing and contrasting them was helpful for those of you guys who are traveling to different countries and are curious about how different countries are eating their food.